Have you ever stopped to think about just how much life there is on our planet? I mean, we're talking about an estimated 8.7 million species. How on earth do we even begin to make sense of it all? Well, today we're going to build a blueprint, a guide to understanding this incredible, mind-boggling variety of life. Right? From the tiniest microbe to the biggest blue whale, our world is just this bustling, chaotic, beautiful metropolis of living things. It's awesome, but it's also super complex. So what's the plan? How do scientists bring order to this beautiful chaos and really understand all this biodiversity? Okay, here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll look at the universal filing system that scientists use to organize everything. Then, we'll unpack the different layers of diversity, because it's not as simple as you think. After that, we'll zoom way in on the invisible world of microbes. And finally, we'll tie it all together and see why any of this really matters for you and me. All right, let's jump right into our first section. To even begin studying millions of species, scientists had to agree on a shared system, right? A universal language so that a researcher in Japan and a researcher in Brazil are always talking about the exact same thing. And that system is called taxonomy. Honestly, you can think of it as the ultimate library catalog for all of nature. It's this incredible framework that lets scientists classify, identify, and name everything in a way that everyone, everywhere, understands. It's all about making sure we're on the same page. So how does it actually work? Well, it's a hierarchy, kind of like a set of Russian nesting dolls. As you can see here, we start with the absolute broadest category, domain, which splits all life into just 3 big groups. Then we get more and more specific, moving down through kingdom, phylum, class, and so on. It's like a giant funnel, taking all of life and narrowing it down, down, until you're looking at just one single unique species. And this table here gives us a great look at that kingdom level. All known life gets sorted into these 6 major buckets, and it's based on really fundamental stuff, like whether their cells have a nucleus, that makes them a eukaryote, or not, which makes them a prokaryote. It's one of the first big splits on the massive tree of life. Okay, so once something is classified, we've got to give it a name. And you can't just use common names. They get way too confusing. So this brilliant naturalist, Carolus Linnaeus, came up with a universal system called binomial nomenclature. Sounds fancy, but it just means every single species gets a unique 2-part Latin name. It's made of its genus and its species, like this little guy, Rana erythrea. So say you're out in a forest and you find a weird-looking bug. How do you figure out what it is? Well, you'd probably use a dichotomous key. It is literally a choose-your-own-adventure for biologists. You're given a series of 2 choices, like, does it have wings or does it not have wings? And by following the path, you can zero in on exactly what you're looking at. Pretty cool, huh? All right, let's move on to our next section. Because here's the thing. Biodiversity isn't just about how many species there are. It's actually way more interesting and complex than that. It's a rich concept that works on 3 totally distinct but connected levels. And this chart here breaks it down beautifully. You've got these 3 layers that all work together to build the super resilient web of life we rely on. The variety in genes, the variety of species, and the variety of entire ecosystems. So let's make this super clear. Genetic diversity is all the variation within a single species. Think about all the different shapes and colors of dogs, or all the types of rice we can grow. Species diversity is what we usually think of, the number of different species in one area, like a rainforest, just packed with life. And then ecosystem diversity is the big picture, the variety of whole habitats, from oceans to deserts to swamps. You know, beyond just sorting and counting, we can actually map out life's evolutionary family tree. That's called phylogeny. And it's so powerful because it helps us understand not just what an organism is today, but its deep history, where it came from, and how it's connected to everything else over millions of years. Okay, for our third section, we're going to zoom way in. We're about to explore the most abundant forms of life on this planet, but they're the ones we almost never see. We're talking about microbes, the invisible engineers that are literally running the show. And first, we have to talk about the real oddballs of biology, viruses. They're so weird, they don't even get to be in one of the 6 kingdoms of life. And that's because they aren't even made of cells. They're basically just tiny packages of genetic material in a protein coat. And they can't do anything? I mean, nothing, not even reproduce, without hijacking a living cell to do the work for them. But most microbes are absolutely essential, and this here is the perfect example. Take the nitrogen cycle. Plants desperately need nitrogen to grow, but the air is full of a kind they just can't use. So who does the hard work? Bacteria! Tiny organisms like Rhizobium and Nitropter convert that nitrogen into a form plants can actually absorb. These little guys are the engines that power the chemical cycles that support pretty much all life on Earth. Of course, we know not all microbes are our friends. Now, a pathogen is the actual bug that makes you sick. Could be a virus, a bacterium, whatever. But sometimes it needs a ride to get to you. That's where a vector comes in. Think of a mosquito. The mosquito itself isn't what makes you sick with malaria. It's just the delivery service, the vector, that's transmitting the real troublemaker, the pathogen. All right, in our final section, let's bring all of this home. We've talked about classifying life, the different levels of diversity, the world of microbes, but why does any of this really matter to us in our daily lives? Well, here's the bottom line. Our survival absolutely depends on it. It's not just a nice to have. From the food on our plates to the medicines that keep us healthy to the clean air and water we need, biodiversity provides all these fundamental services that make our world livable. Our well-being isn't separate from it, it's completely tied to it. And because it is so critical, we've come up with two main strategies to try and protect it. The first is called in situ conservation, which is just a fancy way of saying we protect species right where they live, in their natural homes, like in a national park. The other approach is ex situ, or outside nature, where we protect species in special places like zoos or seed banks, often as a last resort. And that really brings us to the final thought here. We have this incredible knowledge, this blueprint for understanding life, and we have the tools to protect it. So the question that's left for us is, with millions of species literally in our care, what are we going to do? What is our chapter in the great, epic history book of life on Earth going to say about us?